he's like, they're way too young to know what's on your mind. And everyone laughs like, Artie the crazy diddler, you silly bastard.
Did you say Artie the crazy diddler?
Yeah. He's a rascal.
Lights, camera, and action. Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Remember those childhood movies you loved? We're going to watch them again and find out if they're still as amazing as you remember. Let's get ready to join Anna and Jimmy as they go back and watch those movies you remember being oh so awesomely good. Horror movies that scared. Comedy movies that dared.
Damn!
And action movies so preposterously ludicrous that they defied the laws of common sense. Now, here's your hosts, Anna Santos and Jimmy Coates.
And then I put another layer of nachos and then cheese. And I was like, because nobody is getting a nacho without cheese.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than going to a pub and then like half the nachos are left because there's no cheese on it. Yeah. Cheap bastards. All right. Where are we? We are in November, and it's the 18th, and it is 1983. I love these ones. If you're watching TV, which we might not have been.
No.
But if you were watching Ripley's Believe It or Not, Trapper John M.D., Knight Rider, That's Incredible, Scarecrow and Mrs. King, Three's Company, The A-Team, Remington Steele, The Fall Guy, The Facts of Life, Family Ties, which I just started watching casually because it popped up on Paramount Plus, Mama's Family, Hill Street Blues, Webster. Do you remember Webster?
I remember Webster. They had
Coleman ripoff.
I wanted to live in that house so bad because they had like secret passageways and a dumbwaiter. Papadopoulos.
Papadopoulos.
I think it was Papadopoulos. I'm going to look that up now.
Dukes of Hazzard. The Dukes of Hazzard. Do you think that could be watched today? I don't think it was overtly racist.
It wasn't
sure
overtly
was white.
It could be done today because I feel like the actual Dukes of Hazzard were not racist.
No, just drove a racist car.
Yes, but
like
that was still...
if the Dukes of Hazzard car was the Knight Rider car, it would be saying some racist shit. Like you wouldn't want to drive by black people because you'd be getting a lot of fights because the car would say something.
Probably yes. It's terrible, so terrible.
That'd be a funny movie.
But yeah, no, it could totally be remade today. I think they did the
movie with
flag on there.
They did the movie with
Johnny
Stifler.
Knoxville and Shawn William Scott, and Jessica Simpson.
I remember liking the movie.
You know what? I like the movie too, and it was funny because when they did the paint job on the car in the movie, like they see the Confederate flag on top and they're like, what the hell? And I'm like, thank you for doing that. I appreciate you. Thank you for being
But they did keep it outraged. On, didn't they? Or did they
They kept it on in the movie because they were running from someone, so they didn't have time to take it off. They didn't have time to paint over it. They were like, we gotta go now. We don't have time to argue about this.
Actually,
also, by the way, on Webster, it is George Papadopoulos.
Yes, I remember Webster.
Yes, I remember Webster too. Weird because, it just started in 1983.
Yes.
Apparently, I have all my memories fairly early because I remember watching that. And I was only 3 years old.
See, I remember Facts of Life and Webster and Different Strokes. But I remember them, I don't think from watching them at night when they were on live. I think watching them at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock after school. That's when I remember Facts of Life and Different Strokes.
Three's Company, I watched in reruns.
Yes.
A-Team I watched in reruns.
I watched a few A-Team.
There was another.
Night Rider I watched
loved
at night
A-Team.
too. Yeah, A-Team was awesome.
But like Webster, I remember watching at night. Family Ties, I watched at night. What else? Like most of these, I was like, Mama's Family, I watched at night.
Yep. That was TBS. I don't think it was called TBS back then. Oh, maybe it was.
No. Maybe? But yeah, no, there was a lot that I was like, oh, I remember watching that. Like, not in reruns. Three's Company was 100% in reruns.
Yeah.
A-Team, 100% in reruns.
And I remember Ripley's Believe It or Not. And I remember That's Incredible. But I remember That's Incredible. Them, yeah, where they would do those weird, like, is the thing on the commercial real?
Yeah.
That type of thing. It was, yeah.
Oh, Mama's Family ran until 1990. That would explain.
It ran a long time.
It ran a really long time.
Yeah.
Such a good show.
Some news headlines around the time of 1983 was, well, on November 2nd, Michael Jackson's Thriller came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to toot my own horn, but I got that album. I think actually the tape. I don't think it was in 1983 I got it. It was probably, because that album was beyond huge. Thriller.
I have the vinyl.
Did you get the vinyl? See, I think I got the tape.
I personally did not get the vinyl. Oh. I believe my sister did. Or my brother. My sister would have been 13 this year. But no, I have the vinyl in my house, like right now.
So, nice.
Yeah.
So she would have might have got it in 83. Because Thriller was big in 83, 84, 85. Like it was a thing. She would have gotten it a few years.
Yeah, she would have gotten it in those years. She possibly in 1983, more likely in 1984. But yeah, I have the vinyl.
I also got the glove.
Oh, fancy.
Which was a white glove with just rhinestone stickers on it. And I got the red leather jacket.
Oh.
For Christmas one year.
Look at you.
And my brother got the black one from Beat It.
The Bad video? Oh, Beat It. Yeah.
And then I got the red one from the Thriller.
Nice.
So, yeah, I took them to school and everything. And you think I would have gotten beat up. But no, people wanted to try on the rhinestone glove. And
of course they did. It's a rhinestone glove.
Yeah, a sticker rhinestone glove.
Also on
November 2nd, old Ronald Reagan signed a bill making Martin Luther King Day a holiday.
Oh.
November 4th, bomb attack on Israel headquarters in Tyros, Lebanon, killing 60 people. November 8th, Martha Lane Collins elected first female governor of Kentucky.
Good for her.
November 8th, Wilson Goode elected first black mayor of Philadelphia.
Fantastic.
November 17th, the film Yentl, produced and directed and starred Barbara Streisand and Mandy Patinkin.
Yes.
I always get his last. I know who he is, but I just always sometimes I get his name wrong.
Papa, can you hear me?
Yeah, based on a play and story by Isaac Bashevis. And I don't think that had any bearing on our movie that we're going to watch. I think I'm going to say no. Crowd.
Yeah.
Yentl, Sleepaway Camp.
Different demo. Completely different demo.
Yeah, November 20th, Terms of Endearment, from the book by Larry McMurray, directed by James L. Brooks and starring Shirley MacLaine and Deborah Winger. Also came out, premiered in New York, and also I think it won Best Picture in 1984.
I think so.
Again, different crowd.
A little bit.
And on November 20th, 100 million people tuned into ABC to watch a movie called The Day After, about a fallout of a nuclear war. I have never seen it, and the fact that 100 million people watched it makes me want to watch it.
Really? I've never seen it either.
No, it was about, 100 million people. Oh my God. I don't think any show today can get 100 million people to watch one thing.
That's crazy.
100 million people tuned in to watch, because they all would watch it that night. I think it was a 2-night premiere, 2 nights. So people would have tuned in to watch it. That's 1983. What was the population? 200 and something back then. So almost half the country tuned in to watch this movie. That's nuts.
That is nuts. That's so crazy.
Now, top music around this time of the movie's release. Okay, this was a little harder to track in 1983.
Mm,
But the number one R&B song was All Night Long by Lionel Richie.
love that song.
Number one country song, One of a Kind Pair of Fools, Barbara Mandrell. And the number one dance track, Let the Music Play by Shannon. Now,
Love
the
that
top
song.
5 in the UK was, I only got the top 4 in UK. Billy Joel, Uptown Girl.
Mm-hmm. Good one.
Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, Say, Say, Say.
Oh my God, I remember that video.
Yeah, I do too. Shakin' Stevens, Cry Just a Little Bit. And Men Without Hats, The Safety Dance.
The Safety Dance.
Which has to be one of my favorite videos and favorite songs of the 80s.
Yes.
So
100%,
bad,
yes.
but it's so awesome.
I remember watching the video and being like, none of this makes sense.
No, none of it makes sense at all, but it was so awesome.
I think that was also the point where music videos, they were just like, there was a high art concept and then they did it on like a bologna sandwich budget. And you were just like, okay.
Yeah. In the US, Lionel Richie, All Night Long was number 1. Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, Say, Say, Say was number 2. Billy Joel was number 3 in the US with Uptown Girl. Kenny Rogers, Islands in the Stream was number 4.
I love that song.
Wyatt Riot, Come On Feel the Noise was number 5.
Oh, I also love that song. But yeah, Islands on the Stream. Perfect. I love that song so much. Love it.
What were the kids playing? I don't know if I played any of these in 1903, but I did play them. The first Super Mario Brothers, Dragon's Lair, which was the cartoon that you played on the arcade, Spy Hunter, Keystone Capers, Pole Position 2, and Elevator Action. Yeah, because the NES didn't even come out until 1986 here.
Yeah.
So we're talking
we had the Atari still in 1983.
I was just going to say in 83, you're talking Atari 2600, Atari 5200, in television, ColecoVision, or actually going to an arcade, which I remember slightly, not in 83.
No.
But I loved arcades. And when I was older, they were still around, but they weren't as big as they were.
Yeah.
And then they started to turn into these Palladium type places where they had bars and stuff. And what's that?
Dave and Buster's.
Dave and Buster's, that type of thing. They started popping up. But
Boozy
the actual
Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, your Chuck E. Cheese's.
It's a boozy Chuck E. Cheese.
But the original arcade for kids to go spend the day were disappearing by the time I got old enough.
Well, because in the 80s, that really was all that kids could do.
Yeah.
You went to the arcade after school or for the afternoon or on a Saturday.
Or the roller rink.
Or the roller rink. For those of us who could afford roller skates, that was not this house. But yeah, that was like the hangout because there were no fancy coffee places.
No,
you didn't go to like cafes or, you could walk around the mall, but usually in the mall, you'd still end up at
the arcade or something.
At the arcade or
the
something
food court.
to keep you entertained. Or you played pool and then got hit on by 20-year-olds.
Back then, like parents would just drop their kids off and let them. I think they still do that now, or do they? I don't.
Not as much. Well, it's different.
My kids
now.
aren't there yet. My kids aren't there yet either. But my kids are 11. Different. Some of them are in that age group. But back then, kids that were 9, 10, 11 were going to these arcades.
Yeah. Well, also back then, we didn't have social media or the internet
to scare the shit out of them.
Or true crime docs.
Yeah.
Because now everybody's like, oh, stranger danger, predators. Yeah. Like, they were still here in the 80s. We just didn't know about them.
Well, they did have some commercials. You had the Jeepers Creepers commercial. Where'd you get those peepers? But that's more about your parents beating you. And,
yeah. No, there was like stranger danger. Don't take candy from strangers.
Yeah, run.
But now they don't
tell.
Need...
Yeah.
They don't need a white van and candy or the promise of puppies to lure you in. They just have to start talking to you on the internet.
Yeah, and kids today are so dumb.
Oh, God, yes.
Like, so dumb. But on November 18th, 1983, now I kind of questioned their marketing. I mean, you have a horror movie that takes place during summer at a camp. Like, what the fuck?
And it comes out in November.
Yeah, should we release this at summertime for like drive-ins and shit? But no, we want the Christmas crowd. Sleepaway Camp. This movie screams drive-in.
Yeah. No.
I am sure in 1983, drive-ins were still very popular. Maybe not as popular, but they were still pretty popular. Like, I remember going to drive-ins all the time in the 80s.
I have never been to a drive-in.
Really? Oh, you're missing out.
You've got to. I grew up in downtown Toronto.
Cold.
Yeah, no. Oh, that sounds lovely. Thank you so much for telling it to me.
The sound coming out of your shitty stereo.
That's fantastic.
Like, it's not like stereos today. It's those shitty fucking... Or even better, they had where you grab the stereo, the one stereo that you put on your window.
Yeah.
So you had to have your window down a bit to have this thing coming in so the mosquitoes could get into your fucking car.
You make it sound so appealing.
Oh, it's magical.
So appealing. No, I've always wanted to go to a drive-in because, Happy Days and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, drive-ins. I want to do that. But we were never allowed to really go to the drive-in. We'd have to hang out around the campfire and then go home. And there was a movie theater there, but they only had 2 screens. And we usually got the movies about a month after they came out.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. Good times.
Yeah.
So yeah, no drive-in for me. Although it is on my bucket list to do before I die.
Well, the drive-in here still has 3 screens and it's still going. And the kids, I think it's more for kids and parents that don't want to spend $300 taking them to the theater.
Valid.
But my kids, we started going to drive-in a couple of years ago. They friggin' love it. They love watching more than one movie. And sometimes they get the lawn chairs and go out front and with the stereo and stuff. Yeah. Just got to buy some mosquito repellents.
Yeah, no worries. I always carry that with me in the summertime.
But now they got nets.
Mosquitoes.
They got nets with magnets that you put over your windows. So if it's hot or it's nice and windy, you can still have it on. Yeah. So it's evolved, I guess. I couldn't even find this movie at any box office, but apparently it made 11 million. I don't know how long that took or how many theaters or if that included VHS sales or Laserdisc sales. I don't know. I did find out that it debuted in 85 theaters, I believe on the East Coast in November of 83. It didn't make it to California or the West until May of 84. So this was not picked up by a studio. This was definitely indie. Like they had X amount of reels and they toured. So, but on the same release date, Amityville 3D came out, which I remember seeing as a kid, like at my aunt and uncle's. And me and my cousins were allowed to watch it, so it was a big deal. And it was on those old laser discs, not the newer ones that came out, and the ones where you put in, and then you half the movie, and you put the thing in to grab it, flip it around, and put it in. That's old. That's
super old.
Yeah.
I never actually got to see a laser disc in real life.
Oh. We had one. My uncles had, I guess they thought it was going to be the next big thing, and it was not.
Well, that was the plan initially. They all thought laser discs were going to be the thing that went through, and then DVDs took that over.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with VHS and what was it, the Betamax?
Yeah.
Yeah. They all thought it was going to be Betamax. Betamax was better, but VHS is what took over the market. And then it was the same thing. Laser discs, they were like, it was the first one, and I think it was actually better. Yeah. And then DVDs came through and took over the market.
Nope.
God, don't they feel kind of shitty about that? That's terrible.
But Amityville 3D, I believe, opened at number 2. Christmas Story also opened up in 3rd. It was not a big box office success. A Night in Heaven, which I never heard of, but because I was doing this, the synopsis... A married college professor begins a torrid affair with her failing student, who secretly moonlights as a late-night strip club dancer. It opened 5th.
Nice.
Other movies, Never Say Never Again, the James Bond one, that wasn't canon. He came back, and he was 52. It was good, but he was looking a little old.
Yeah.
Other movies were The Big Chill, All the Right Moves, Richard Pryor, Here and Now, The Right Stuff, and Return of the Jedi was still making money 26 weeks later.
Impressive.
In November. Yeah. Now, I'm not sure anyone who listens to this knows the twist and reveals, but I don't know if we want to talk about it or wait until after we watch it.
I think we should wait until after we watch it.
Okay. So
It'd be nice to the people listening who maybe haven't seen Sleepaway Camp and they just want to join us.
Yeah.
For our conversation on this one.
Let's see. So I'll leave this part then because I did write, because it got lambasted by critics back then because of some of the stuff that it had in it. It's kind of got a rewatching and a little bit of change. It was actually a little more progressive, or it seems to be a little more progressive. I don't know how much a 1983 cheap movie, but we'll find out.
We'll find out.
Now, it should be noted that while Friday the 13th and other similar movies used adults that played teenagers, Sleepaway Camp actually used teenagers. Now, after my Pauly Shore misstep of being 17 when he was in that movie, I'm not 100% sure how factual this is, but Felissa Rose, who plays, oh my God, what is her name? Angela, was 13. And I'm going to double check that now, because now I don't believe anything the fucking internet tells me. So she was born in 1969. So yeah, she might have been. And this was filmed in 1982. So yeah, she was 13. Okay, so that part is true. Jonathan Tristan, who was in it, is 18. Chris Collette is 15. Catherine Cammie was 19. And there was a bunch of other people that they didn't have date of birth. So I don't know. I don't know if authenticity will help. I don't know how good a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old actors are. But I do remember liking the movie.
Okay, so I watched it many, many moons ago.
Yeah.
And I remember liking it, but I barely remember the movie.
I was just going to say, I know the twists and turns. I remember that part.
Yeah.
I kind of remember some of the kills, but I could be getting them mixed up with another movie.
Honestly, it takes place at a camp.
Yeah.
How many horror movies have we seen that take place? So that's why I'm like, am I remembering this movie or am I remembering one of the many others? So that's why I can't wait to watch it again, because it has been so long and I have a vague recollection of really liking this movie and finding it, like, I remember being creeped out by it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I remember.
So now
I do remember.
Am I remembering correct? Also, looking at the cast for this, I thought I'd just throw this out there. Have you watched Jersey Shore?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know Mike the Situation?
Yes.
Apparently his older brother is in this movie, playing a young Peter. So an 8-year-old young Peter. And I was like, okay. I had no idea.
So this movie is going to be cheap.
Oh, it's going to be great, though. I feel it. God, I hope so. Please.
I did not see it in the theater. From what I found, very few did. But I remember this being rented on a weekend at a friend's, like a sleepover or something along that effect. Like at an age when we would consume anything horror, good, bad, it didn't matter. As long as it was a horror, and the horror movies, the covers of those VHS boxes as a kid could sell a movie so easily.
Oh yeah.
It could look like the best horror movie ever, and then you watch it and
you're like, this was shit. Look at how much money they put into the cover of this DVD. Yeah, this was on TV for me. It was one of those late night cable where I consumed the majority of my horror movies.
Yeah, I watched a lot of horror movies.
Late 80s, early 90s. If it was on TV on a cable channel, I was like, oh, what? We're killing people? Cool. Let's watch.
Yeah.
And I think literally the last time I saw this was probably mid 90s, maybe. Even that might be stretching it. Maybe early 90s.
I'm going to say early 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
why I'm like, I remember liking it. I remember it creeping me out, like putting me on edge. But I barely remember anything that happened in the movie.
Yeah, same here. See, I'm more familiar with Sleepaway Camp 2. And the VHS cover of that movie drove me and my friends nuts. It was the one with the female hiker with the backpack, and Jason's mask and Freddy's glove are hanging out of it. And all of my friends, we saw it somewhere, or maybe it was at the local store where we rented movies. And we were convinced that Jason and Freddy were in this movie.
Which I mean, makes sense.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's false advertising. But
they just didn't they do a remake of this movie?
I think they did. They did number 1, 2, and 3 were done in the 80s. I think they did a 4th and a 5th one, and the 5th one I think was done very recently.
Wait, 4th one?
I don't know if it was a fan made
Sleepaway Camp 4, The Survivor. Okay. And then there's a Return to Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah.
When did you come out, sir?
2008 was Return to Sleepaway Camp.
Return to Sleepaway Camp was in 2008, yeah. 2012, they did Sleepaway Camp, The Survivor. I could have sworn there was more recently.
Yeah, I thought there was one more recent.
I thought there was a remake. Oh, this is going to drive me nuts. I'm going to keep looking. But anyways, I'm excited.
Yeah, and aside, like I said, from the endings and maybe a kill, I don't remember a lot. I do remember kind of poo-pooing it a bit because it was like a total Friday 13th rip.
Yeah.
And the stupidity of loyalty to movies or franchise, was so dumb as a kid. I remember my best friend in elementary school was like a Sylvester Stallone fan. I was an Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. And so I watched Stallone movies all the time, but on the playground, like Predator and Terminator was the shit, and Rambo and Rocky sucked. And then he was like, I love Rambo and Rocky, but I was an Arnold guy. And if Rambo was in Predator, the movie would be over in like 20 minutes. And all the kids would be like, ooh. Then I'd be like, if Terminator was in Rambo, he'd rip Rambo's wiener off and shove it up his butt repeatedly.
Damn. You're intense about this.
Oh. Other kids would be like, ooh. Some kids would be crying because I put that image in their head. But yeah, so neither of us really remember anything about this movie.
No. I remember liking it. I remember enjoying it. I believe I saw Sleepaway Camp 2.
I don't know if I saw number 3.
I don't think I've seen 3 or 4.
I definitely didn't see 4 or 5. Oh, no, it was just 4. Yeah.
Technically, I think there's 2, 3. No, there's 5 movies in total.
Yeah, I've seen 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen 2. I cannot guarantee that. But yeah, I remember finding it creepy. Mind you, I find most movies that take place in like the woods tend to make me very uncomfortable because I am not a nature person.
Well, yeah, you're already out of your element.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I already don't like the woods in general. I'm like, this is a perfect place for killers to hide.
Yeah.
So it makes me uncomfortable.
Or rabid animals, or yes. If you're rabid, they just be big with
just
teeth.
Animals, because all they see is food when they see me. They're not seeing a potential friend, someone they want to hang out with.
Doesn't even have to be a bear. There's Anna running from a squirrel.
Yeah, I don't run from squirrels. Squirrels and chipmunks, I'm fine with for the most part. Okay,
they get big up here.
They do. They honestly, I've found some really fat squirrels, and I'm like, dude,
yeah, you need
you're
to
not
jump
climbing
from
enough
tree
trees,
to tree
my
a
friend.
little more. Yeah, more cardio.
Mind you, I'm used to like Toronto raccoons. They don't bother me. I saw a possum, and I've seen a possum, just one. I've seen multiple skunks in Toronto, so I can deal with that. It's like the bears and the coyotes and the wolves and all them's people. Also, geese freak me out because
Geese
cobra
are
chickens.
Yeah.
So mean.
Yeah, they're very mean.
So every time I go out into the woods, I'm like, what fresh hell are you going to throw my way? Fuck you, nature. Fuck you.
All right, well, this is where this movie gets a little weird. So we'll go to the tail of the tape. Because now this has a higher critical rating than the original Friday 13th. And all the other ones. Like all of them.
Yeah.
With 27 critics, and it has an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Mm.
And a Rotten Tomatoes audience score sits at 60%, with just over 10,000. Because 60%, it was the same score audience gave Friday 13th. So the audience, it scored the exact same, but the critics gave it 80. And IMDb has it at 6.2 out of 10 from over 34,000 members. That's high for a horror movie.
For a horror movie from the early 80s, let's really put this into perspective.
Yeah. Because it is a horror, so it's rated R, which is always good for a horror movie. It clocks in at an hour and 24 minutes. Now, give me a second here. Oh, crap. Give me one moment here. I'll bring up the beautiful Sleepaway Camp posters, because there is 2. Oh, that's not big enough. That's not big enough.
That's what she said.
I was actually thinking that in my head. Well, this will have to do. So let's share this. The window.
I have a friend who used to say that all the time when we worked together.
Oh,
you just hear her voice across the office. That's what she said.
Anytime I start watching The Office, my wife gets so mad because I just start doing it all the time. And it's almost like a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
Well, here's the poster. So for people, it has a little note where it says, "Dear Mom and Dad," but it has a sneaker that's obviously coming out of the water, a blade with bloody blade going through the sneaker. I don't know why they're trying to kill this poor fucking sneaker.
I don't know, but it's cute.
And it says Sleepaway Camp. And it says, "You won't be coming back." Poster is okay. It's the sneaker part's kind of odd, but it's iconic because I do remember it.
Also, at that point, the Adidas.
Yes, it's definitely an Adidas shoe.
Like that shoe was super, super popular. Every teenager was wearing it.
Okay, fair enough.
So it was definitely youth is dying without actually showing them dying. It's very artistic. Also, it's a great way to promote an R-rated movie without showing anything controversial.
Now, for a independent movie, the taglines, the marketing team went nuts. So the taglines are: "A nice place for summer vacation, a perfect place to die. You'll go there on a bus and come back in a bag. Dear Mom and Dad, I've been at Sleepaway Camp for almost 3 weeks now, and I'm getting very scared. Someone is watching you. Someone is waiting for you. Someone wants to scare you to death." Literally. I'm only halfway done. The camp's activity for today: murder. You won't be coming home. Summer camp has never been so scary. You'll go there on a bus. Oh, I already did that one. This place puts the R.I.P. in the R and R. And finally, Carrie meets Friday the 13th. Oh.
Oh my god. That was fucking amazing.
Now, the synopsis, basically the one on the VHS is just the letter to Mom and Dad that they're getting very scared. But the actual synopsis is: after a horrible boating accident kills her family, shy, sullen Angela moves in with her eccentric Aunt Martha and protective cousin Ricky. One summer, Martha sends the kids to Camp Arawak. Soon after their arrival, bizarre, increasingly violent accidents claim the lives of various campers. That's it. But I mean, that's all you need. Oh, are you going to make me watch a video? You are too.
Bastards.
Make me watch a commercial. IMDb. So I'll just go to YouTube, where I pay apparently $20 so my kids don't have to watch commercials when they watch their YouTube videos.
God bless.
Okay.
Dear Mom and Dad, I've been at a sleepaway camp for almost 3 weeks. And I'm getting very scared.
Welcome to Sleepaway Camp. Someone is watching you.
Hey, Baba, revive!
Someone is waiting for you. Someone wants to scare you to death. Sleepaway Camp. You won't be coming home.
Fantastic. I'm into it.
Why does the voiceover guy sound like a speak and spell? Welcome to Sleepaway Camp.
He was trying to do creepy and sinister. He got kind of robotic, but I mean, it is what it is. I like that they didn't try to tell a story other than people die.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of...
There wasn't a whole lot of... So this is what starts this. Nobody cares. We're like, ooh, look, everybody dies.
Yeah, it's
great.
Going to be a lot of killing. So what are your predictions?
I think I'm going to like it. Again. And I also think it's going to creep me out. Like, I think I'll come away from it a little unsettled.
Yeah, it's... you didn't really see a whole lot. I mean, the acting looked pretty on par for a 1983 slasher film.
Truth.
Like, we watched the original Friday 13th. The acting wasn't stellar in that thing either.
Oh, God, no. I feel like the acting might be a little bit better than Friday the 13th in this one. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not expecting miracles here. No, but even from what they show in the trailer, I was like, oh, yeah. Like, there was a lot of things that were very familiar. And I was like, wait, I've seen this before. And I was like, okay. And it was still like, I was like, ooh, that's a little creepy. That's a little creepy too. And I was like, oh, maybe this bodes well. It bodes well for the movie.
Yeah. Because we're going into it. Yes, it's not 2023. It's 1983. Oh, God, that's 40 years ago.
Shut up.
Well, it's not like we were going to... We didn't go to the theater and watch this movie.
No, they wouldn't have. Actually, no, they might have let us in. I think they were probably still smoking in the theaters at that point.
I remember going to the theaters and my parents smoking and other people smoking in the theater, and it was fine.
Yeah.
Like, I remember people, they were smoking everywhere, smoking in the car, the restaurants.
I remember when everybody smoked everywhere.
I don't know why everyone got cancer. But I never smoked a day in my life. Yeah, you kind of did.
No, you were just in an enclosed space with 40 other people smoking right next to you.
Yeah, 2 packs of secondhand smokes a day.
Yeah, I love it when they were like, smoking or non-smoking? Oh, non-smoking, please. You're 10 feet away from like the wall of smokers.
Yeah,
like,
that cloud up in the ceiling didn't just stay in the smoking section.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, it was perfectly normal at that point.
Yeah.
To go into a movie theater, light up a cigarette. Mind you, they were still smoking on planes at that point.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I remember when malls, and this must have been in the 90s or the late 80s, where you had to smoke in the hallway of the malls. Like, they still had those ashtrays on the end of the benches.
Yeah. What year was it? I think it was 2004. And I went over to Portugal and I was in a mall. And as I was walking through the mall, I saw like ashtrays lined up along the mall.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? And I remember I just got tired of being in a store at one point and I went outside to the hallway and I had a smoke. And I was like, this is amazing. I don't have to find an exit. I don't have to like
I
run
love
outside.
smoking. I loved it. Loved it. Oh, kids.
Smoking is awesome.
If you're young enough, smoke. It's so awesome. Wish it was healthy for you.
Right?
I'd start it up again.
I wish it was back in the 1950s where they were telling you to smoke because it was good for you.
Oh, yeah. It's good for your stress, good for weight loss.
Yep. You need to lose weight? Just drink some coffee, eat half a grapefruit, and smoke a pack a day. You'll be great.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
All right. So we're going to go watch Sleepaway Camp and then come back and see if it was any good.
Fingers crossed.
You heard them. Movie time. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves a treat, and then watch a classic kick-ass movie from whenever the one we're about to watch was made.
On Monday the 16th, they had a party for like a couple hundred high-up executives who got treated to a personal party and a personal concert by Sting.
Damn.
And the next Tuesday on the 17th, they laid off 10,000 employees.
Jesus.
I'm like, oh. Who
That's
thought
bad
that?
optics.
Yeah. Who's your PR guy?
You know what, though? They probably booked Sting literally 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And then they were
we
like,
can't not do it. We already not giving us our money back.
They probably called Sting and was like, hey, can we cancel? And he's like, no, you still have to pay me. And they were like, well, shit.
They should have waited till Tuesday and said, okay, you're laid off, but here, Sting's going to play you out.
That's terrible.
I thought that was funny, though. Okay.
Okay.
So we have both watched Sleepaway Camp.
That we have.
Who wants to start with the initial thoughts?
I can totally start off.
All right.
My initial thought is, what the fuck? But wow.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know if this is so bad it's good or just so bad. And I had a note here saying WTF 3 question marks.
I don't know where to go with this.
This movie is terrible. Everything about this movie is terrible. There's a little done right in this movie. Laughable in all the wrong places.
Uh-huh.
A lot of it doesn't even make sense.
Correct.
I read some of the reviews that some of the kills were inventive, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Most of the kills made no sense.
No.
But unlike some movies, one more real recent, I kept watching and I didn't want to turn it off.
Same.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to see where this takes me.
Yes.
I
didn't remember any, other than that reveal, the reveal at the end. Other than that, I could, for the life of me, could not remember anything.
I vaguely remember watching this 20 odd years ago.
At least, yeah.
I didn't remember anything from it either.
I think I might have been like 13, 14, maybe, when I saw this.
Yeah.
I can't. And
I might have been 15, maybe.
Maybe.
I think the one thing that seemed familiar, like once I started watching the movie, I was like, I don't remember any of this until the boat scene, the initial boat scene where like the dad and the kid die. And then I was like, that's familiar to me.
That was a little familiar. Wasn't familiar how fucking bad it was, but yeah, that was kind of a little. And her face, and I don't know if it was like the main character.
Yeah,
what's her name? Angela. I can't remember the actor. Felicia Rose.
Felicia Rhodes. I think. Yeah,
Felicia Rose.
Right?
Yes. And when I saw her face, I remembered her face. I do remember that.
Yeah. It was a lot. It was
all right.
It was a lot.
Well, let's go through the Okay, so over the opening credits, the camera pans over a deserted campsite in autumn as sounds of camp activities during the summer are heard. Eventually, it comes to a stop on a sign outside the campsite, Camp Arawak for sale. This screamed after school special.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was very
Or Monday
ABC.
night movie, or
yeah, it was a
for those who actually remember what that
a morality. I know they don't know anymore. They don't know. They don't know about the after school specials where the hard drugs was weed.
Actually, a lot of the actors and actresses in this movie were in after school specials, like ABC's after school special,
which makes a lot of sense, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, no, I was like, I don't know if the beginning was supposed to creep us out, make us feel uncomfortable. Mostly, it just left me perplexed.
And was it this afterwards for sale, or was it before?
The after.
Was this the after?
It's for sale after, but it was like when they started panning through the entire camp. Like there were a lot of cabins that looked perfectly fine, and then it started panning across cabins that were worn down and looked like had been abandoned. And I was like, "Are we still in the same camp?" Because there was also different color schemes, and I was like, "I don't know what's going on." And then there was like talking, like a VO of talking, and I was like, "Who's talking?" Because it wasn't loud enough or distinct enough for you to really hear anything. So it's not even like they were dropping clues or anything. It was just like random. I was like, I don't know what's happening.
And the music playing just seemed off at times.
Yes. It was super, super ominous.
Yeah.
But like middle of a kill scene ominous.
Yeah. Like there's something really bad happening, building, but it was, no. And it was weird. Maybe
and
if that's what they
really
meant
high
to
volume.
do. Yeah.
I was like
they meant it to be that jarring. Well done.
Yeah. I mean, I kept watching because I was like, it sounds like someone's about to get killed or a killer's about to pop out, like something.
Yeah.
But then nothing happened. We just saw the for sale sign. And I was like, okay.
Okay. In the summer of 1975, John Baker and his partner, Lenny, take John's children, Angela and Peter, on a boating trip near Camp Arawak, where the two siblings prank their father by capsizing their boat. They attempt to swim ashore where Lenny is waiting for them, but camp counselor Mary Ann, driving a speedboat and not paying attention, runs into them. John is killed, and only one of the children survives. This sets the tone of the movie, which is, what the fuck?
Well, the best part is everybody's just staring at the water.
Not even going in to see if...
The water skier girl is just sitting there in the water screaming her head off. And I was like, is nobody going to even try to save these people? Like, no, nothing.
Nope.
We're just going to stare and scream. Okay.
Yeah. Cause can I say the women, the girls, chicks, whatever in this movie are horrible people. They're all horrible people. I mean, there might be one good one.
Everybody's horrible. No, there are a couple who are extra horrible. Who's the Meg is terrible. Judy's terrible.
Judy's terrible.
Who is the nice
Susan or Lucy?
Susie. Was she?
I think
Susie?
so. Her name's down here in a minute.
There she is. She's Susie.
Yeah.
She was nice.
She was nice. Yes.
But everybody else was just terrible. It was just filled with terrible people.
Yeah.
Just all terrible. Anyways, go on.
Now, second, even on a low budget, you could have set that shot up way better, more realistic. It was so bad. Terrible. It reminded me of that Austin Powers scene where he's gonna run over the guard with the steamroller, and it takes forever for him to fucking get there. They were so close to the shore. How that boat got that close to it, I do not know. Yeah, it didn't look very well. But again, I kept watching. I mean, we had to watch it, but
we had to watch it, but also at the same time, it didn't. Like I rolled my eyes a little bit, but I spent most of my time going, why is nobody doing anything? Like, I think it's Lenny on the shore, just staring. His partner, lover. I did not get that part until later in the movie, but I'm like, you're just going to stare? Like, I don't understand. And then the girl's just screaming in the water. The two people in the boat are just sitting there. And I was like, so nobody's going to do anything.
No.
But I kept watching.
And then when they had the life jacket float by, looked like it just got in a tug of war with two sharks.
Right? I was like, I don't understand. Also, how did it get off of?
Yeah, it got off of her.
That was, we're not so, I was trying to do it without, because I was like, oh, the little boy's dead.
Yeah.
Because that was my thought.
But
and then it was like, then the girl's dead.
No one's in the life
I was
jacket.
like, so everybody's just dead? Who? Why do we care about these people?
8 years later, in 1983, the now 14-year-old Angela lives with her eccentric aunt. Now they have here Dr. Martha Thomas and Martha's son Ricky. She was a doctor?
She was a doctor.
Did they say that in the movie? Obviously they
said
did,
it at the beginning at the beach where it's like Lenny is like, oh, the doctor, Dr. Martha. The doctor's coming. And one of the kids is like, oh, Aunt Martha's coming. Yeah.
That's right.
So they established that.
This woman should not be a doctor of fucking anything.
Can I tell you, during that entire scene,
it was creepy and berserk.
My actual note was, well, she is super creepy. Please make her the killer.
Yeah.
Because it would soothe my soul to know if she was the killer. Because I'm like, she's in charge of children. Like, she has children living with her.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Yeah, it was a bizarre scene. Like, they wanted to make her seem a little odd. They went overboard.
I didn't realize crazy. This, but this scene with her and the kids kind of set almost the vibe for the entire movie, which was like musical, like teenage high school musical. The entire, like the performances, the story, everything. I was like, it's a musical, a high school musical, but without any songs.
Yeah. There's a song at the ending, but we'll get to that in a minute. Okay. Aunt Martha sends Angela and Ricky to Camp Arawak for the first time, along with Ricky, who has attended the camp before. Upon arriving at Camp Arawak, the shy, meek, and introverted Angela quickly becomes a target for ridicule and bullying, mostly from her bunkmate Judy and their counselor Meg, while Angela's other counselor, Susie, the camp's head counselor, Ronnie, do what they can to help her. Okay, let's rewind a bit because this thing missed huge parts. The kids getting off the bus and the kitchen staff.
With the pedophile? With the pedophile.
Leering at them. Leering at them was creepy enough. But the head guy, hold on.
What was
Artie?
Oh, God.
Artie, the head chef. What the fuck was that?
the things he was saying about the girls, and what was it? Baldies is what he called them. And then
he's got that thing in his mouth, and he's just and he's like, look at all the, I wrote it down, look at all the young, fresh chicken. Where he comes from, they call them Baldies.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
And then one of the other guys, James Earl Jones's brother, Robert Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Ben, says, aren't they too young for you? And he's like, they're never too young. And I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah. You're just too old.
Everybody just laughs.
And everyone laughs.
Also, can we talk about Ronnie's shorts?
Hold on. I have it. We are, because I have it here. Next address, how tight Ronnie's shorts were.
How short they are, too.
How short they were.
He's wearing booty shorts. I have underwear that covers more of me than that.
Actually, all the boys were dressed kind of tightly and
crop tops and shorts on all the men.
Very high crop tops.
Really high, like just below the nipples.
Yeah.
I'm like, sir.
It makes you wonder.
Scandalous.
Like, you don't think of the 80s being very progressive or acceptance, like, especially because it was a very homophobic decade.
Mm-hmm.
This movie, you wouldn't think that.
Wait, but this was also the decade where everybody thought Boy George was straight. So, I mean, apparently the collective gaydar hadn't turned on yet.
Yeah. So everyone in the 80s was an idiot.
And everybody was shocked when George Michael came out. And I was like,
yeah.
Really? Because maybe. But yeah, no, I was like, those are some short shorts. That's some very tight t-shirt action.
Every time Ronnie came into a scene, I was looking right at his dick.
Because there was
his
nowhere
crotch
else
was
to
so
look.
out there, it drew your eyes directly to his crotch. Say what you will, but it might as well have been a 3D movie, and Ronnie just slapped you in the face with it.
Pretty much. I do like how all the girls were more covered than the men.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh
But
my
I did
God.
like Ronnie.
I liked Ronnie too. Ronnie was a good dude.
He's probably the nicest guy there.
Yeah, he was like not creepy. He didn't pick on
No.
anybody. He stopped any bullying. I was like, way to go, Ronnie. You're
Yeah.
good peoples.
Yeah. I question
Not
your
like Mel.
wardrobe, but
Well, I mean, and Mel, the owner of the camp, he
Jesus.
he was a creep.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
Apparently,
lots to
they
talk
just
about
like
Mel.
hiring. Yeah, they like hiring creeps and pedophiles. Apparently, at this camp. Way to go.
Okay, where are we? Ronnie do what they can to help her fit in. Oh, there we go. The pedophile head cook. That's the outline from Wikipedia, not me.
Accurate.
But he doesn't even hide it. Like the others are just laughing at him. Like
Which also
like you
concerns
said.
me.
Yeah. And he's like, what is it? He's like, they're way too young to know what's on your mind. And everyone laughs like, Artie the crazy diddler, you silly bastard.
Did you say Artie the crazy diddler?
Yeah. He's a rascal.
Yeah, that's it.
Not a good rascal either.
No.
He's a bad rascal. Artie takes Angela into the kitchen pantry where he attempts to molest her, but is caught by Ricky, who runs out with Angela. Now, before that, we see Angela in her cabin and the girls talking and trying to interact with her. Not in their defense, but she just stares at them and doesn't say nothing.
No,
And
super
they don't
weird,
take that
super
very well.
creepy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't start bullying the kid if that was happening. I'd just be like, okay, cool, you don't want to talk.
Yeah.
And then move on with my day. These girls take it as a personal affront.
Yeah.
That they're not being talked to. And
like, that's kind of that age, 14, 15.
Yeah,
I
but
can
the
see
counselor,
that.
Meg, also.
But though I was just about to say, the one's a counselor.
One's a
She's
counselor.
not.
And I was like, girl, calm down.
And then I have a note. Susie seems to be the only nice counselor, girl counselor.
Correct.
And then Artie tries to,
to molest.
Because I thought like Ronnie almost seemed like, because he was like, well, let's see if there's something in the back. I'm like, oh, not Ronnie too.
Well, honestly,
but he wasn't.
Ronnie wasn't giving me creep vibes. So I was
no,
like,
that's what I mean. I was kind of like,
Ronnie,
oh no.
I was like, why is Ronnie? But then Ronnie was literally like, let's find her a snack. And then walks away. And I was like, oh, Ronnie's not a creep. Yay. His shorts deceived me.
Yeah. So later, an unseen figure causes Artie to tip a pot of boiling water onto himself, leaving him with severe burns and in extreme agony. Camp owner Mel Kostick decides to cover up the event in order not to frighten the campers. Okay, first, that was a giant goddamn pot. Like, holy shit, that pot was huge.
That pot should never have been on the stove in the first place. Because my first question was, why are they using that pot?
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
You could never heat that much water up.
I know. That would take forever to start boiling. You'd have to start it literally like 3 hours before.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. But also when the water falls on top of him and like he's got his arms up, so you can tell exactly where they put the makeup, where they did the special effects. It was all on his arms and his face because that's all you see. And he made sure to have his arms in the shot, which I really appreciated. You know, also that was gross. Whoever did that makeup job did a fine job because you could literally
It was gross looking. Yeah. The skin.
It was super gross. Yeah. You could see the skin, but you could also see like liquid coming out. And I was like, oh God. When Ben comes into the kitchen in his boxer shorts, I don't know why he's not wearing pants.
Oh, yeah.
But I did note that. I was like, sir,
maybe he's on a break.
Wearing pants. It's the middle of the day. But he just stood there and stared.
Yeah, there's a lot of just standing around and staring.
And just stared. Everybody just comes in and stares. And I wrote the note. I'm like, none of these people are good in a crisis.
No.
Because they just stare.
No, don't get hurt at this camp. You'll die. You get a sore stomach, you'll die.
You'll die. Because
Splinter,
they're just going to stare
dead.
at you. They're just going to stare at you. Doesn't matter if your finger falls off, stare at you. That's it.
Yeah, stare at you till the gangrene sets in and then you die.
Mm-hmm.
But the first kill, it didn't make sense how that was possible that it could happen. There is no way, like I'm watching this going, like, just give yourself a push off the cupboard. His feet were still literally on that.
Yep, still on the chair. His feet were still on the chair.
All he had to do was push and jump.
Yeah, no.
It's not like he was hanging from the ceiling. It was horrible. The effect was good.
Yes.
The cause of the effect was stupid.
Correct. Also, right. I don't know if we can really classify that as the first kill because he was still alive as they were wheeling him out.
Yeah. In pain. Like they did not give that diddler anything for the pain.
And I'm not sad about it. I'd like to point that out.
No, but they wrapped him up.
They wrapped him up, which I don't know if you're really supposed to do with burns.
No, I don't think you're supposed to do that.
Especially with burns that bad.
It'll stick to the burn.
Yeah. I'm like, he's going to have no skin on him, but okay.
No. Now let's get these bandages off.
That's where he dies. He dies from the pain overload.
Yeah, when they take the bandage off and all the rest of his skin just comes ripping off.
Yeah.
And Mel shuts the rest of the kitchen up with Ben getting $50 extra a week and the other guys getting $15 extra a week. Because they were kind of like him and hawing, and then he offered them the extra money and they seemed fine with it.
And then he gave Ben a little pep talk about being in charge of the kitchen. And then all of a sudden Ben was like, Artie who?
Yeah.
What? I don't remember anybody being in here.
Yeah. Fuck that diddler.
Yep.
When we'll say this, the guy who did play Artie, he obviously was supposed to be creepy and did a great job. So
good.
He only has one acting credit, and this is it. This is the only thing
all
he did.
Needs.
He did a great job. Creeped me out.
Yeah, no. Ew.
When campers Kenny and Mike mock Angela, Ricky and his best friend Paul fight them until their counselor Gene intervenes. I like Gene.
I like Gene too. He's my crop top.
He was a good guy
dude.
too. And he had some purple crop tops going.
Yeah.
And those
that's
fishnet
super cute.
crop tops.
Yeah. He was my crop top dude. I loved him. He was also a good dude. Kenny's a douchebag. Those kids are drunk. But I like how all the counselors just let this little rumble happen for a while.
Yeah.
Like nobody intervened right away. Once again, everybody just stared. I would not send my kid to this camp if all the counselors are going to do is stare.
Well, Gene finally intervened.
Thank you, Gene.
After the brawl, Paul stops to befriend Angela. And when he tells her goodnight, she tells him goodnight as well, speaking for the first time.
That was sweet.
And actually that all started with Mike and Kenny trying to pick Angela up to go down to the lake. And their pickup skills were sorely lacking.
Apparently you're just like, I'm pretty sure this is, a perfect example of coercion and part of rape culture. If you just keep bothering a woman until she's ready to snap, she'll eventually agree to do whatever you're saying just to shut you the fuck up.
Yeah.
However, Angela was not playing that game. Angela was like, I'm just going to sit here silently and stare.
Yeah, just stared at them.
Yeah, just stared.
And before that, we had that baseball game. And can we touch on the sound again of this movie? Because that game sounded like it was played in a small stadium.
Yeah.
And there was no one around watching them.
No. Well, no, there were a few campers.
Oh, were there? Okay.
No, not like enough to make that kind of sound.
That. Yeah.
No, there was literally like 6, like the people in the dugout.
Yes.
That's who was watching. Nobody else.
Yeah. No, because it sounded like there were a lot of people there. And then Mozart caught the ball, and then they pick on him, but like the ass in the face prank.
Can I tell you, this movie, I saw so many like
boys' asses.
boys' asses, like, it was just like the counselors, like everybody's ass was just out.
Yeah.
But no titties.
No, not one.
Not one titty.
And actually, I didn't even notice that until the end.
Yeah. I was like, I've seen a lot of like male ass, but no titties.
Yeah, which
super
is
confused.
But thankfully, because a lot of the actors were actually of age they were playing. So
yeah, that would be illegal.
Yeah. That night, after pranking a girl named Leslie by tipping her boat. Oh, so they get all the girls down there, and then the girls don't want to, and the boys say, well, screw you, and they get all naked and go.
Skinny
Kenny
dipping.
takes Leslie, whoever Leslie is here, and then tips the boat over, and then he is drowned by an unseen assailant.
I do like the drowning. I do like the way they did the drowning, yeah. With the head just popping up and then pulling Kenny down.
Yeah.
I was like, I like that. That's stylish.
Now, but when lifeguard Hal finds the corpse the next day, Mel insists his death was an accident, but Ronnie and police officer Frank are skeptical. That body did not look like it drowned.
It did and it didn't. It looked like it drowned recently, so I could but it's not. Like, it also looked like it got munched on, which I was like...
Yeah, and that's what what the fuck is in that lake?
It was... Well, the snake comes out of the mouth, which I was like, that's also one of my big fears in life. This is why I never want to drown. I'm like, I also don't... I hate it when any kind of insect, bug, or reptile, whatever, comes out of the mouth of a dead person. I'm like, ugh. It's just... It adds insult to injury. But it did look like he had been in the water, but... He didn't have the bloating and like the gray color of someone who'd been in the water for a really long time.
No, he didn't.
But he also looked very nibbled on for someone who had been in the water for such a short time. So it was a confusing body.
Yes. And can we acknowledge at this point that Officer Frank's mustache is real? At this point. Because that changes. Meanwhile, Paul continues bonding with Angela and asks her to attend the mandatory movie night with him, which she accepts. After the movie, Paul walks Angela to her cabin and gives her 2 goodnight kisses, taking her by surprise. After campers Billy and Mike throw water balloons at Angela the next day, Billy is stung to death when a mysterious figure traps him in the bathroom stall and drops a hive of bees into it. Mel suspects a killer is at the camp now. Okay, so it missed a bunch of things. It wasn't just Billy and Mike. There were like 10 guys throwing water balloons at each other on the roof of a cabin.
Yes. Yes.
Like, what the fuck were they doing up there?
First, it started with them throwing water balloons, I think, at each other.
On
the roof of the cabin.
Yeah.
What? And then they threw one at Angela, which I think pelted her right in the face.
Yes.
And it was all very traumatic. And then... What's his nuts?
Billy.
Ricky.
Oh, Ricky's trying
sees
to fight them all. Yeah.
Then, but his way of fighting is just calling them a bunch of names from the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mel catches him.
Yes.
And Mel's like, "You're also going to be punished for your mouth." And I'm like, the kid called them cocksuckers, which technically they are, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then he like made all the guys come down, and then after that. Trying to remember if Paul shows up to walk.
Yeah,
Angela.
Paul was there helping her up.
Yeah, and then they go off to have cute moments.
Yeah. Now and then Billy goes to the shitter. Mm-hmm. Now, was having a giant window in the bathroom a thing back in the day?
I couldn't tell you.
It wasn't even glass. It was mesh.
No, it was just the mesh.
And it was huge.
It was ginormous.
People could walk by and hear you.
Well, and was the window behind him or in front of him?
Behind him.
I think it was behind. And I was like, what? Why aren't you looking?
Yeah.
Like, why are you still reading your magazine? Just turn around.
Yeah.
But no, he was very involved in his magazine and he was not paying attention when the beehive got thrown in there with him.
Yes, which we didn't see one bee until the end.
Nope.
And why Billy just didn't jump through the giant mesh window, I don't know.
Nobody knows.
or the crawled under the stall, because that was huge as well. Now, we did see the bees crawling over Billy's dead body. And what kind of fucking bees are at Camp Arawak? Those sting marks were bleeding, and like they must have been related to like murder hornets.
Probably, yeah.
Because that was
disturbing. We're gonna say that it was like when they did the shot of like his face, I was like, oh, that is not good.
Yeah, no, it was very gross looking. I appreciate that. Science was thrown right out the window.
Oh, 100%.
Probably that mesh window where Billy was taking a poo. That night, Paul and Angela playfully run around the lakeshore. But when Paul begins making out with Angela, she has a flashback to when she and her sibling witnessed their father in bed with Lenny. She rejects his advances and runs off, leaving Paul confused. I was a little confused that just for a second, and it took me a minute to put together the two guys at the beginning of the movie and the two guys in the bed.
Yes. Also, I don't know why that triggered a trauma response, because it was literally just her dad and his partner like looking lovingly at each other and like touching fingers to faces. That I thought we were going to get something a little more traumatic.
Yeah. I have a theory, but I'll leave it till the end.
Okay.
But yes, I thought something was a little more traumatic was coming as well.
Yeah.
This left Paul confused. The next day, during a capture the flag game, Judy takes her chance to seduce Paul, and Angela finds the two of them kissing. Paul attempts to explain himself to Angela. I love his explanations. Like, come on. She was bugging me.
Because apparently that's all the reason you need to start making out with your best friend's ex.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're forgetting that Ricky and Judy were together for 3 summers, okay?
Yes.
The last 3 summers they were together, and now that Judy has titties, all of a sudden she was too good for Ricky. And
she's on a different playing
Paul.
field. Yeah. Okay, so the next day, Paul tries to go and ask or get forgiveness from Angela. Yeah. Judy and Meg shoo him away and then throw Angela in the water. After Ricky rescues her, children fling sand at them. Ricky confronts Angela and swears revenge on her aggressors. Okay, so if they weren't subtly trying to convince the audience that Ricky is the killer, Mel thinking out loud that Ricky is the killer and then manhandling him openly. Mm-hmm. I like that part where they're bringing, was it the lifeguard was bringing Angela out and all those little kids were throwing sand? Yeah. And then their counselor was yelling at them like, stop it, you animals.
See, this is my theory. My theory is that every kid at this camp, except for Ricky,
is a lunatic?
Is just a horrible, horrible person.
Like next to feral?
Yes, pretty much. They're all feral. This is like Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
And just at camp, and all the camp, but most of the counselors, like the male counselors, were totally fine. Susie was great. Meg was terrible.
Yeah. Well, the little kid counselor was Eddie, and Eddie's like, okay, stop it, you fucking animal.
Yes.
Meg is stabbed to death in the shower while getting ready to meet Mel. Okay, and missed a bit here. So just before that, Meg and Mel did discuss to meet up for dinner. Like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Creepy? Yes.
100%.
But Meg was the instigator. Instigator.
I was like, what was she investigating? His dick?
So good on Mel. Unless Meg is underage, then shame on Mel. For shame, Mel. But I don't
honestly
know.
For shame anyway, because Meg is young enough to be his daughter.
Daughter? His granddaughter?
Maybe.
Because this movie did not really seem to give a shit about when it came to age differences.
No,
at all.
They are totally okay with pedophilia.
Yeah.
100%.
FYI, Mel, actor Mike Kellen, which I did, his face and his voice, I did find familiar. Yeah. He died in 1983. I'm not sure how, but it was before the movie was released. So it wasn't the reviews that killed him. But that old guy he's only 61.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I know if you're in your 20s,
older.
yeah, if you're in your 20s, 60s is old. If you're in your 30s, it's starting to seem not too old. 40s, 60s not that old. I'm sure if you're in your 50s, 60s is still pretty young. But yeah, he looked a lot older than 60.
Yeah.
Like,
Poor Mike.
at that night's social, Paul apologizes to Angela for what happened earlier with Judy, and Angela tells him to meet her at the waterfront later. Meanwhile, the children who threw sand at Angela and Ricky are camping in the woods with their counselor, Eddie. I did like Eddie.
I did like Eddie too.
Like, there should have been more of him, because he was like, he tried to trade off his camping assignment. He bitched at the kids the whole time.
Yep. I appreciate Eddie.
He didn't question if he should really be taking a bunch of 8-year-olds into the woods with maybe a killer and people mysteriously dying.
No, everybody was very okay with it.
Yeah. Eddie, Gene, and Ronnie. I like those guys.
They were good.
Yeah.
I'd go to a camp they were counselors at.
Just not that camp.
No.
2 of them ask him to take them back to the main camp. Then when he returns, he discovers the 4 remaining children have been hacked to death with his hatchet.
Mm-hmm.
Again, didn't Eddie have to drive out to that area?
Yes, he did.
So how the fuck did the killer get from the main camp out there, hack the shit out of 4 kids, and then back to the main camp again?
Don't ask questions that don't have answers.
Yeah. The writing and directing is horrendous.
Totally.
Back at camp, the killer enters Judy's cabin and murders her. And this is the Wikipedia outline. Raping her with a hot curling iron while smothering her with a pillow. Now, when I was watching this, I was not 100% what was happening.
Uh-huh.
I had an inclination where the hot roller was going. And I kind of didn't want it to go there, because it made it even really, 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 really uncomfortable, to say the least.
Here was my concern, and this is terrible, but the pillow goes over her head, and I was like, okay, fine, so she's going to get smothered. Then all of a sudden, the hot curling iron is being picked up.
Yes.
And then you see the killer, pressing on the little button that like raises part of the wand that like locks the hair in.
Yeah.
And my question is, I'm like, why are you opening it up?
Oh, and then you got your answer.
And then I had a moment where I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
There is nothing good that can happen from here.
That's a horrible way to go.
Oh God, it was terrible. It was
even for Judy.
I think I partially like blocked it out.
Yeah, that was like, is she doing with what I think?
I was like, I'm pretending that.
Oh my God.
I'm pretending that they're just using the curling iron to like burn her legs. That's what's happening. Yep.
Yeah. Because that kill was a horrifying one.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Not okay.
Meanwhile, Mel finds Meg's dead body and, convinced that the killer is Ricky, after hearing him swear vengeance against Angela's tormentor, severely beats him before escaping into the woods.
Mm.
Meg's death was, what was that like? How do you get the night? It wasn't a wall.
No, it's like a shower
curtain thing.
Shower stall. So you know
okay.
how usually when you go to like camping, the shower stalls are made of like plastic or whatever.
Yes.
That's what it was cutting through. And it was the hunting knife from the boys' cabin, the one that Mozart pulled out to threaten his friends when they pranked him with the shaving cream, because that's a reasonable response. And when Meg's body finally came out, I was like, wow, that's like a really straight line down the spine.
Yeah, that was pretty straight.
Impressive.
Yeah. I will, because going back to Meg's death, when the knife was it going up or down? But it had the blood coming out.
I think it was going down.
Yeah, it had the blood coming out, which it did look cool that way.
Yeah.
The acting on the other side of the curtain, not so much.
No.
And they cut back and forth. And it was so bad.
I will say this about pretty much all of the performances in this movie. One, overall bad, but 2, also very campy and over the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it was just very...
At least it was consistent.
Oh, God, yeah. Through it all. The acting was terrible.
Where are we here? This plot line. Oh, before Mel escaped into the woods. However, he is confronted by the killer, whom he is shocked to recognize, and is killed with an arrow through the throat. The lightning speed in which that arrow is, like, it's right beside, the arrow is beside the killer's leg.
Mm-hmm.
And how quickly it goes from there, loaded, is that how you say it, with a bow and arrow?
I'm assuming yes.
Then aimed and fired directly into the throat of Mel was lightning fast. Like, that was a pro.
But yeah, no, like, some of these kills are so... I'm like, who the fuck? For a while there, I was like, who the fuck is killing everybody? Because it can't be one of the kids. Because half of this shit you need a lot more strength to do.
Yeah.
And then half of it just seemed badly planned or super sadistic and cruel. So then I was like, I don't know, is Ronnie, like, deceiving us? Is he really just crazy? Because he could probably do this. He has the muscles.
Frank, having been informed of the situation, searches the campsite with the counselors for other victims and the killer. Frank being the police officer.
Mm-hmm.
And those were some big ass flashlights. Holy shit.
Yep.
From 1983. It's like you need a car battery to start them. Yeah, the one flashlight was fucking awesome. And can we now recognize that Officer Frank's mustache is no longer real? And how friggin' fake it looked.
He probably got a job to do, like, a commercial during the shoot. And they were like, no, we need you back for one more. And he's like, fuck.
I shaved my mustache.
I shaved my mustache for this commercial job. It's a national spot. They were like, hey, man, that's fine. We'll find you a fake.
Yeah, we'll put one on.
Yeah.
They discover Ricky unconscious and injured, but alive. Meanwhile, Paul is at the waterfront with Angela, who suggests they go skinny dipping, so they undress. You have to tell Paul twice.
Nope. Paul would never let logic come into this.
Ronnie and Susie, while... What the hell? Perlustrating the campsite? Jesus Christ. And I've written 2 books. Perlustrating.
Perlustering?
The campsite. Perlustering the campsite?
Who the fuck uses that word?
Yeah, that's a new one. I mean, I think I've heard of it before, but yeah, that's the word. Wikipedia. And still I donate money to that site.
See, that's your first problem.
Well, anyways, they find Angela sitting on the lake shore with Paul, who appears to be resting in her lap, and she tenderly strokes his hair, humming quietly. Another flashback shows Aunt Martha welcoming the survivor of the boat accident into her home, who was revealed to be Peter, not Angela. The real Angela was killed in the accident, and Aunt Martha, after taking custody of Peter, chooses to raise him as his dead sister since she did not want to raise another boy. Back in the present, Angela, who is actually Peter, drops Paul's severed head on the ground and stands up fully nude, holding a knife covered in blood and with his penis in plain view before the horrified Susie and Ronnie, growling with a frozen and deranged expression as the film ends. So yes, the whole...
So many issues.
Yeah.
I felt bad for Paul. He thought he was just going to get to look at some titties, and then he lost his head.
Yeah. Yeah, and the way it was cut, like with his... whatchamacallit, ripped out with it. Yeah, it didn't look like it was fun.
No, not even a little bit. Also, I don't know how they did that final scene.
I think it was her head was imposed on the body.
I think so too, because it almost, this is going to sound terrible, but like it was definitely a different body and not the body, like not even close to her body through the entire thing. I was like,
no.
It's the weirdest thing. Also, why is her mouth frozen open?
Yeah, I think it was just a picture and then just put on the thing, and the growling noise was there. But like, I think if you watch it again, I don't think anything on her face moves.
It was terrible and messed up and just
Well, back in the day, it got labeled as transphobic, homophobic, because she was a killer just because she was trans, or he was trans. But I don't buy that he was the killer because he was a trans. This was a boy told he was a girl who then was confused because his dad was gay. It was implied he and his sister watched them, so he likes boys. Was he a girl? You know what I mean? If Peter Peter, who was Angela, had to go to court, I could get him off.
Well, yeah, no shit. Anybody could. A high school freshman could get him off.
Yeah.
But
the real villain was the wackadoo aunt.
Yes. She's fucking nut job. I don't think this has anything to do necessarily with homophobia or transphobia.
No, I don't think the writer or director meant it to have any deep gender meaning.
Yeah, we can't determine that because there's not enough story development.
Yeah.
To point to one thing or another. All we knew is that there was this character, Angela, who was traumatized by watching her two family members die.
Yeah.
And then had to go live with her crazy aunt, or his crazy aunt. Initially, it was Peter who went to go live with his crazy Aunt Martha, who decided, no, Peter's now going to be Angela.
Yeah.
Which explains why Angela never talked. Because I'm pretty sure there was some trauma there. And then everybody who did Angela wrong got killed.
Yeah.
Which still makes total sense. Whether that character would be trans or not has nothing to do. Like, it's not like she went on a killing spree for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
This is not Mike Myers.
No, given all, because the confusion, not only, okay, I was a boy, my aunt says I'm a girl, so I'm supposed to like boys because that makes sense because I saw my dad, he liked boys. You could teach a fucking class. You could take up a whole semester of the different implications all that happened to Peter would have on an actual human being.
There's so many layers of trauma in this character.
Yeah. And I don't think the director and writer meant.
No, they were just like, how fucked up can we make this? And what twists and turns can we add?
Yeah. But then I thought the director, who is also the writer, went to the trouble to tell us that it was a boy and that his aunt was a doctor and made him be a girl. And also went to the point to make us realize that his dad was gay and that he saw them together, most likely different times. So maybe the director writer did at the end of this movie put the shock thing in and then put all that other stuff in to fuck with everyone's mind. Not fuck with their mind, but go, what the hell did I just watch? Like, there's a reason that, you know what I mean? Like, he went to great lengths to add certain things into the movie, and makes me think that some of it was on purpose, or was it just the way it was written? Oh, he's going to have gay parents, so that's why I killed him. Or he was told that he had to be a girl, and
it's super weird.
I never had a movie make me fucking think this much, and it's really pissing me off.
Well, no, it's also super weird because then you have to start thinking, like, where are the kids' mom? Like, where's the mom? Why didn't they stay with the dad's partner? Why did they go to Aunt Martha?
Yeah.
Why did Aunt Martha insist, like, other than she's mentally unstable, insist that she was going to raise this boy as a girl? Like, change names, the whole nine. And it's like, we don't get enough answers for that.
No. And there's no closure.
There's no closure. There's no reason.
A bit of backstory, nowhere near enough.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, there are a lot of people who have been through a lot of trauma, but they don't necessarily go off killing everybody who's ever thrown sand at them.
No. I don't want to see a movie like that, though.
I mean...
where they don't kill anybody. Like, what fun is that?
What is this?
Do
Not
they talk
killing
about
people.
their feelings and
what? Do they fall in love and like
they
get
fall
married?
in love? Yeah, and everyone's accepting. Jesus Christ!
I don't know. There could be layers of. See, I wouldn't even call this transphobia.
No,
because it wasn't Peter's choice to transition to Angela. That was forced upon him. I also don't know, like, did Ricky never figure it out? Why all of a sudden Peter shows up at his house, but now we're calling him Angela?
Or maybe
like,
she told him that
it's fine.
Peter did die and Angela.
Maybe.
But I hope they never went to the washroom together.
I can give a little bit of credence to like the homophobia happening or even just the feeling of wrongness because, you know, Paul thinks Angela is a girl, but it's actually Peter who's a boy. And then that kind of brings like weird feelings for Peter. I don't know if I decapitate someone for that, for weird feelings, but I mean, hey.
It's obvious Peter was not really taught how to deal with his feelings.
Correct. And nor was Angela. And I keep like, it's really hard because it's not a chosen transition.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, but does Angela now think that she's Angela, but with a penis?
I know it's
and like she's just a girl, or is it still consciously or subconscious, like consciously, quietly? Angela's like, I'm not Angela, I'm Peter.
In 2004, it got a re-release, an upgrade. The prints were redone, and it got reviewed a lot more. And now it does have like 80% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes, and it has quite a high 60%, I think we said it was, from audience members. So I think that's been changed, where people are now not calling it homophobic or transphobic because he didn't have the choice, and it actually has a lot more to it. A more beautiful disaster of a movie, I cannot fucking recall.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. Even though this movie made no sense, I came out with more questions than I went in with.
Yeah.
And the acting was horrible. The writing was horrible. The shorts were shorts, as were the crop tops, at least on the guys.
Yeah.
I still really like this movie. And I don't know why.
So your review then, your score?
My score is 1.5 out of 10.
1.5 out of 10, and you like it?
And I like it, but here's why. Because it's almost so bad it's good, but it's bordering on appallingly horrible.
I agree with you.
You know, like
yes.
I'm like, I will watch this again, and I will probably come out just as confused, and I will roll my eyes, and I will delight in the pedophile getting burned, and realizing that once they try to take off those bandages, all of his skin is going to come off. I will delight in that. But also at the same time, I'm like, it almost got just so bad I would never want to watch it again.
Yes.
But something about it charmed me. I never once wanted to turn it off.
And I have never been, not that we've been doing this very long, I have never had this much trouble scoring a movie. My review score is this movie was bad. The writing was bad. The directing was bad. Sound effects, bad. Acting, bad. The kills were stupid, save for a very disturbing one. But it's strangely enough, I was fine watching it. Like, I mean, the movie in the whole, not the horrible killing. Either waiting for the next ridiculous murder or the next ridiculous line of dialogue, or just waiting for Ronnie's junk to show up and say, "How you doing?" Nothing in this movie was well done. Nothing.
No.
Like, there might have been a good line here, a good reaction or delivery there, but all in all, it was bad. And now looking back at just how bad it was, I believe for it to be so bad it's good, that would warrant a rewatch. So would I rewatch this movie for its badness, or just recommend it as a bad 80s slasher that deserves at least one watching and maybe a revisit later? And that's where I came up kind of what you said. I probably will watch this again. Or is it a bad 80s slasher movie with a shock ending that actually gave it more depth than it deserves? And all these years after rewatching it, the shocker of the ending, whether intended or not, gave this movie an extra layer, making it better. I watched it. I actually enjoyed watching it, as horrendous as it was. Unlike a movie we recently watched that was so horrible I wanted to turn off. But do I want to put this into watch again soon category? Not really. But I would give Schindler's List, Spotlight, 12 Years a Slave, Dallas Buyers Club, Requiem for a Dream, 9s and 10s. I have no interest in watching them anytime soon. So yeah, it's a terrible movie, but is it a terrible good movie or just a good terrible movie? I think it's both. And I'm giving it a 6.5. Pretty kind of good, really very good. So just good. It doesn't deserve to be, but it is. I will watch it again, and I would suggest if any, like, I will get to that in a second. But yeah, I had such a difficult. I was going to give it a 1 because it wasn't that.
It wasn't quite there, but
No.
it literally borders on so bad it's good and just so bad it's bad.
Yeah,
like just terrible. But for some, and I fell back on my feelings because I was like, I never once wanted to turn it off.
No,
which already says something.
And with being how bad that movie is, it does say something.
It says a lot. I was mildly entertained through the entire thing just from the ridiculousness of it.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's not one of those where I would ever get a craving necessarily to watch it. But it would definitely be one of those things where I'm like, guys, Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah.
Let's do that before we start watching the good horror movies. Or, now I kind of want to watch all the sequels.
I think we should put them on. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should,
because I'm like, where do you go from here? But that was my debate, because I was like, okay, objectively, bad movie.
Yeah.
Why did I enjoy it? Like, well, no, more accurately, why did I not hate it?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is terrible, but I'm weirdly entertained by it, and I don't get it.
And on paper, you shouldn't like it.
No, not even a little.
There's nothing good about it.
Nope. Pedophiles, creeps, bullying, freaky little girl who just stares at people, which is always weird. The aunt is super, super creepy. And there's just a lot of stuff that doesn't seem to make sense. But it kind of makes sense. It's very weird. I don't know how it sits in my heart for some reason, but I don't know why.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so
it's a conundrum.
What would you say are your pros and what would you say are your cons?
My pros, this is terrible. Because there's nothing actually really good about this movie except for the wardrobe of the male counselors.
Yeah.
Teeny tiny booty shorts and crop tops. Yeah, I was just entertained because I was like, are they wearing more short shorts? How short are these shorts? That's got to be uncomfortable. That was really a line of entertainment that I had through the entire thing. Con? Everything else?
Yeah.
Bad writing, bad acting, like overacting, very hammy, very over the top. It felt like a high school production.
Yeah.
Weirdly kind of endearing to me, but also at the same time painful to watch on occasion.
Yes.
Judy was a bitch.
Yeah.
Did not like her.
And then she did her job. That's what she
totally did her job.
She didn't do it well, but she did her job.
She did her job. Like, you kind of just want to smack her and be like, oh my God, shut up. So she stares and she doesn't talk to you. Move on.
My pro would be, it's like the ending elevated the story. Whether and it sticks with you. It obviously made us think and talk about it. Back then it would have been, I believe, portrayed differently if we watched it. But now it doesn't mean to do it. I don't think it meant to do it, but it did it. Cons, everything. Everything else, like you said, the movie's horrible.
It's terrible.
It's like this. It's the 80s slasher movie that tries.
You know what? It tries, and for some reason, because it's trying, you're like, let's see where you take me.
Yeah.
And I will agree with you that the ending adds a whole nother level of depth. I'm just mad that it it ended with that level of depth and we never got to explore it.
Yeah.
So it just leaves you with more questions than when you started the movie.
So why you liked it originally? Like, why did you like it back then?
It was a slasher movie.
Actually, that's, yeah. I wrote, I think I liked it because it was a horror movie, and that was enough back then.
I was consuming a lot of horror.
Yeah.
I've always consumed a lot of horror and like slasher movies, and I love the ridiculousness of it and the fact that nothing ever really makes a lot of sense. Like, it makes some sense, but not a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've always loved that. So I was like, yeah, fun movie. Like,
yeah. I wrote, I was young enough that I just took whatever horror I could get. And I know for a fact, I did not take the ending of this movie back then at this level now.
Yeah. So many questions.
Yeah.
I want to know the answers. I don't think you get them in Sleepaway Camp 2. I'm just saying.
No.
But, so don't, to everybody listening, please don't watch Sleepaway Camp 2 thinking you're going to get answers, because I highly doubt it. Yeah. I'll let you know later. But no. But yeah, no. Now we come up with all of these questions, where before you're just like, oh my God, Angela's Peter. And that's it.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I didn't remember the ending before.
Yeah.
Now it's more impactful.
Yeah. It does actually open up the movie to a whole different level. And if you liked it then, you might appreciate it more now for reasons you won't understand until you start watching it and get to the end.
I think the time, like when if you watched it before, you wouldn't have had as much information or familiarity with gender identities and, you know, struggling with your sexual orientation and things like that. Whereas now, it's a common conversation, and it's not necessarily taboo or not something you talk about. Like, these are questions everybody asks. So I think now you end up delving way deeper. I think originally with this movie, they just wanted to have a shock.
Yes.
A twist at the end that everybody's like, oh my God. I think that's what they were going for.
And I think that the gay father and lover and the aunt changing him was to give the character a lot of confusion. And I don't believe that the writer or the director, they never intended to be this deep.
No.
Yet here we are.
Here we are having deep and meaningful conversations about Angela and whether or not it was a choice
about a movie
transition.
we should not be talking this in depth about.
Like, there are philosophical questions that come from this movie.
What would you tell people if they asked, should I watch Sleepaway Camp?
Yes, but it'll fuck you up.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, like, if you have an affection for slashers and bad 80s movies, but if not, this is definitely not your cup of tea.
Oh, no.
Could it be rebooted
still think everybody
or
should watch
reimagined today?
Yes, I think it can. I think it would need to have a slightly different ending, and they need to flesh out the in-between years between the boat accident and when Angela goes to camp.
Yeah, I said that, yes, but I don't know if better actors, better direction, better script, better everything. And even if you explored the psychological bullying, the forced gender identification, and the other 100 psychological effects this type of trauma would have on a kid, I don't know if it would work. Like, I don't know if it would make it good or horrible.
I don't know if it would make for a good movie. Let's be clear about that.
No,
you could do it.
I'd be really interested in seeing it.
I'd like to see if the acting was better and the writing was better and the story was fleshed out a little bit more about Peter becoming Angela. Does that make a difference? Like, does it, if we get more answers, does that bring more finality to the end of it? Or do you end up walking away going, what the fuck was that? Like we are now.
So any other questions or anything else you want to say about Sleepaway Camp?
No, just that this movie is a conundrum, and I don't know why I was entertained by it, but I was. So I'm just going to accept it. I'm going to accept it and move on.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for watching it. And we are definitely not responsible if you watch this movie and don't agree with our
100%.
Congratulations. You just had one of your childhood movie memories vindicated. Or they just eviscerated it. I don't know. This is a generic one-size-fits-all type of ending to the podcast. So thank you for listening, and please join Anna and Jimmy next time for another episode of the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. If you dare to go back and watch that movie you remember liking,